So yesterday was the French language debate. It was meh. I did see a lot of comments from people saying, why are we talking about Quebec so much? Because it's a French language debate in Quebec. And in past elections, Quebec has actually had some pull. But that's not what I found interesting. The best part of the whole debate was the scrum afterwards, where journalists, or people pretending to be journalists, got to ask some questions. I mean, this is your time. This is your time to pull out the things that are on the minds of everyday Canadians and ask the politicians. But that's not what all of them did.
In your estimation, was Justin Trudeau a good prime minister?
That was Kian, this guy's kid. You know, it wasn't that long ago that Kian was walking along the beach with Justin. But the obsession really needs to stop.
Just to follow up, if I may, your entire campaign does seem to be predicated on putting you in the front and hiding the people that stood in lockstep with Justin Trudeau for the last 10 years.
I'm not a reporter. I am a professional in my field. I don't know that I'd go to work with a cap on. At least he wasn't rude. But more than the questions that the reporters were asking, it was the responses that were the best.
I'll say a couple things to that rather odd question. First is that the candidates in this election for the Liberal Party, I mean, you go and see when I make an announcement. I don't think I've seen you at any of them, but...
Now, there were multiple reporters from independent media, and they got to ask questions. It's of the alt-wrong variety. Oh, they just can't help themselves.
Alex Zoltan with True North. If you thought my friend's question was odd, you're going to love this one.
I'm glad you self-assessed that. Okay.
How many genders are there?
In terms of sex, there are 2. Thank you.
Went on to ask a follow-up about women and having personal spaces. Hey, alt-wrong, just a piece of advice. Don't pretend to give a shit about women and them having private spaces when you're all gung-ho to take away rights from women. But let's get back to the sex and gender. It was a baiting question, and a question that's difficult to answer in any way in the teeny amount of time that they have. And let's not forget that Carney has a trans child. He's well-versed. This is why those shouldn't be allowed in professional spaces. Now, when it came to Jagmeet's turn, he wasn't having it.
Hello, Mr. Singh. Drea Humphrey with Rebel News. Your party takes great pride in standing against hate such as white supremacy, Islamophobia, and online...
Sorry, I didn't get your outlet.
Drea Humphrey with Rebel News.
Okay.
Your party...
You know I'm going to go with this, all right?
And where he goes is to explain that he doesn't answer questions from those types of news outlets because they perpetuate disinformation. They manipulate things. For example.
All right.
Can I speak?
Yeah, you can. I'm just going to say you know where I'm going to go with it, though.
Your party takes pride in standing against hate such as white supremacy, Islamophobia, and online hate speech. Yet you stay silent about ongoing attacks against Christians, even after Conservative MP Jamil Javani's order paper question revealed that over 200 churches have been targeted by arson.
I'm just going to stop her there. She's referring to this, Protect Christians Canada, launched by Mr. Javani, because, oh, the poor Christians. Now, in asking her question, she goes on to talk about how Christian churches were targeted when unmarked graves were alleged. You know, the remains of Indigenous children that never came home from residential schools. Well, I don't believe that. And when you look at this, okay, the endless supply of resources that needed to be used to go and look at these vandalized churches. But really, the primary focus of this is twofold. You guessed it, parental rights. And that people of a certain belief shouldn't be subjected to mandates, including vaccinations. How those measles treating you, Ontario? Because in rural Alberta, it ain't good. Amen. And so Jagmeet basically says the reason why I don't answer your questions, because they aren't questions in good faith, and they're based on mis and disinformation. Oh, why waste your time? Blanchet, although he did answer the questions, gave that quintessential French sucker punch.
David Menzies with Rebel News. Ms. Blanchet, since 1941, a pipeline has brought oil from Portland, Maine to Montreal. Over the years, it has brought hundreds of millions of barrels of oil, much of it from OPEC dictatorships. Why have you never, not even once, opposed OPEC conflict oil being imported through an aging pipeline? Why do you prefer OPEC conflict oil over Alberta ethical oil?
I seem to believe that you already have the answer you want to write, so your question seems to contain the answer. I believe I am the one who authorized the change of direction in Enbridge Line B in 2013, which seems to prove that I'm not a fanatic against oil.
These are so enjoyable.
A poll came out showing that 74% of Quebecers support the building of new pipelines. Why are you and your party not in sync with the majority of people in this province, sir?
Don't you know my love for commenting polls? Have a nice evening.
Again, these take information, twist it to suit their narrative, and then present it as fact. That's why politicians don't like you. That's why a lot of us don't like you. But don't forget, there was other independent media at this scrum who asked relevant questions. Some were a little, but the outlets of the alt-wrong, I mean, come on. But then there was Pierre. Oh, Pierre. Giving them all the time in the world. Agreeing with everything that they said.
English, please.
Sheila Gunn-Reid for Rebel News.
Yes.
We've seen the NDP tonight refuse to take questions from independent journalists. The Liberals have gone one step further. The Carney campaign has called the police on independent journalists. Trudeau before that brought in C-18, C-11. The Liberals are promising a revamped version of the Online Harms Act.
There's a lot to unpack in those very few words. Gee, I don't know, Sheila. Why would people like Carney and Trudeau before him have concern with your type of reporting? And by you, I mean the alt-wrong. I don't know, maybe it's because they like to rent planes and fly to private islands, intercepting the prime minister when he's on vacation, having the boss come to demonstrations so he can raise a ruckus and therefore grift more money? Allegedly. And as for C-11 and C-18, read the fucking bill. C-11 is to actually help so that Canadian media, reporters, actually get compensated for their work. Maybe you're worried you guys won't get compensated for your work. Or maybe you're already getting compensated for your work elsewhere. Allegedly. And in terms of C-18, you shouldn't be able to go online with the moniker of a news outlet and spread false fucking information. Again, if you're worried about the impact, change your output. And in terms of Pierre's response, well, he said they're the only party that are going to protect freedom of expression. I don't remember if he said expression or speech. Hold on. He said freedom of the press. I guess that doesn't apply to CBC, does it, Pierre? When you won't take their questions. Okay for me, not for thee. And then the last one, I swear.
Do you believe that foreign nationals, that is, people who are not Canadian citizens, should be deported for participating in these hate marches or other pro-Hamas activities that don't rise to the level of a crime?
Hold on, Madam Freedom of Expression. You answered your own question. If it does not rise to the level of an offense, why would you deport people and restrict their ability to speak out if they are being lawful? This is why we can't take you guys seriously. Let me say what I want to say. I don't like what they're saying. They should be deported. Get fucked. Anyway, English debate tonight. Nobody call me for 2 hours.